My talk actually has a title which you probably haven't seen, and it's called Like Moving to Graveyards, an analytical case study of a music teacher education curricular reform project aimed at equity and cultural relevance. In 2005, inspired by Gloria Ladson-Billings' research on culturally relevant pedagogy and her assertion that perspective should be at the core of teacher preparation aimed at equity, our music education area at UW-Madison began thinking about a large-scale overhaul of our undergraduate degree and certification programs. Over time, equity and diversity had moved to the core of our methods courses, but the larger degree and certification programs hadn't been touched in at least 20 years. We set to imagine what a program might look like that would exemplify and foster inclusive, equitable, culturally relevant teaching. We developed a sweeping plan of curricular reform. And I was going to talk about the philosophy, our process, and actually some of these radical courses, but I had to cut it out because of time. The program was finally approved in 2014, 9 years later. We knew the reform process wouldn't be easy, but we weren't prepared for how long and hard the job proved to be. So today, in this talk, I will reflect on why it was so difficult. Especially at a large institution, curricular change often is a slow, difficult process, which Woodrow Wilson, who was then the president of Princeton University, once likened to moving a graveyard. I maintain that our curricular reform project involved moving 2 or more graveyards. We encountered at least 3 major obstacles that operated interactively. The first, ironically, was the interdisciplinarity of music education programs at UW-Madison. I say ironically because Madison has long viewed interdisciplinarity as valuable and as a portal to creativity and ingenuity, at least on paper. In a surface sense, when I speak of 2 graveyards, I'm referring to the effect of our program's interdisciplinary structure. The undergraduate degree is in the School of Music in the College of Letters and Science. The certification program is in the Department of Curriculum and Instruction in the School of Ed. My appointment is in the Department of Curriculum and Instruction. My colleague Terry Dobbs is in the School of Music in a building across campus. This structure meant that curricular changes required approval not merely of 2 departments, but of 2 academic planning councils and 2 schools or colleges. Our interdisciplinarity doubled the work involved in gaining approval, and it added years to the process. In another sense, we were moving 2 graveyards because in addition to facing a double load of red tape, the kinds of change we were suggesting generated fairly high levels of resistance, even though they were consistent with stated university and departmental equity and diversity goals. In C&I, the support came with a condition. Do whatever you want, just as long as it doesn't cost anything. C&I is our major source of funding. It was a somewhat different story in the School of Music. Although our proposal was warmly received in some areas and enthusiastically supported by School of Music Director Susan Cook, there was significant resistance in other quarters that boiled down to, the plan is fine in theory, or not, but not in my backyard, not the part that means any change affecting me. We knew going in that we could not increase the time to degree completion, so any new course requirements, and we proposed a bunch of them, would have to be offset by cuts elsewhere. We never suggested totally sacking any degree requirements. We knew better than to ask for too much, but we did ask for some nips and tucks that to us at least seemed small. For example, a reduction in large ensemble requirements from 7 to 6 semesters to be replaced by 2 semesters in heretofore ensembles that heretofore did not count, such as black music, gamelan, jazz, world percussion, etc. We also recommended a 1-semester reduction in applied private study, 7 semesters to 6. For vocalists, we proposed replacing that 1 semester with a new course we called Teaching Vocal Styles. We went door to door. The strongest resistance came from the performing studios and conductors of the large ensembles. We acutely felt the powerful effects of the centrality of large ensembles and private study to our undergraduate curriculum. Trying to convince key players of the value of our plan took considerable time and effort. In some cases, our efforts paid off, but not in all. Every change we proposed was part of a whole cloth plan, which I think ultimately saved us. Because you can ask in the Q&A why. We were afraid that opposition to a specific part of the plan might result in the whole thing being torpedoed. Faced with this possibility, one by one, we conceded many of the nips and tucks we had proposed. In the end, most of the School of Music course requirements outside of music education looked pretty much like they always had. Plus, we were proposing a boatload of new required courses. The plan was saved by our undergraduate advisor, who realized that many of the new courses were so outside the box that they could count toward liberal arts distribution requirements. We did not consider this ideal, but given what we knew we could not touch, it was this or nothing. The third obstacle we faced was scarcity, real or perceived. In fairness to my resisting colleagues, our asking came at a time when there was a significant drop in enrollment in the School of Music. A scarcity of students generated fear of empty seats in choirs and the orchestra. Furthermore, all of this was happening at a time when decisions by our governor and state legislature were gutting the UW system. Scarcity was being used as a weapon, a rationale for selective gutting, for making some things go away but not others. Nobody wanted to be among the things going away. Resource scarcity was and remains real at Madison. It has been devastating to music education, and scarcity meant we didn't have the staffing we needed to move the curricular project ahead quickly. A few weeks ago, my daughter attended a conflict resolution seminar at her workplace where she was told that scarcity often is a major contributor to conflict. To that astute observation, I add that scarcity, real or perceived, can be used to mobilize fear. Furthermore, scarcity tends to bring to the surface the deep systems of reasoning that drive the actions of individuals and groups. Systems of reasoning, a phrase I have borrowed from Tom Popkowitz, include what Ladson-Billings calls perspectives plus more. They are bigger than values, beliefs, and ideology. They also encompass the logic, the rules of evidence, and the very construction of rationality that makes some actions seem reasonable and sensible and others outrageous or unimaginable. Reflecting on the resistance we experienced, I argued that scarcity, or the perception of scarcity, brought deep systems of reasoning to the surface at my institution, systems of reasoning that construct and maintain whiteness. Last week, the Washington Post published an article by Mary Beth Gassman, a professor at the University of Pennsylvania and expert on diversity in higher education. The topic of the article was why historically white colleges and universities don't hire more faculty of color. Gassman concludes, "It is because," and I quote, "we don't want them. We simply don't want them." According to her, historically white colleges and universities lack the will, and she provides powerful evidence to back that assertion. I would say that there isn't a complete absence of will, but certainly a weakness of individual and collective will. I am reminded of Charles Mills' observation in his book, The Racial Contract, about the formal and informal arrangements among white people that establish and maintain white supremacy via a social contract that profoundly advantages them while disadvantaging others. Our experiences with obstacles raise questions about whether and how large institutions might become more nimble at making much needed equity change. Strengthening the collective will would go a long way. Will grows out of systems of reasoning. According to Ladson-Billings, particular perspectives should be at the heart of teacher preparation programs aiming for equity. I add that cultivating the broad systems of reasoning in which these perspectives are nested also will help ensure that university-level curricular change for equity can grow and flourish. 2 years into the new program, I say confidently that this exciting equity-driven initiative was well worth the effort. The new program has already borne rich, sometimes unexpected fruit. We are receiving high praise and positive feedback from a wide variety of sources. One pleasant surprise has been a dramatic increase in enrollment in the new program. Our freshman class is 1/3 larger than the largest enrollment on record going back nearly 30 years, and 3 times the size of our senior cohort. Wow. This is great news for the School of Music. Remember, they won. What about the diversity of those enrolling? We're not there, but we're working, and we have yet another project in mind to address that. Our curricular project was a big push, and the work is not over. Recently, I met with James, a freshman from out of state who identifies as biracial and is a Chancellor Scholar, meaning that he is in a campus-wide program designed to recruit and retain students from underrepresented groups. At a Chancellor Scholar event, he heard Ladson Billings speak and sent her an email, which she passed along to me. James wrote passionately about his dream of becoming a particular kind of music teacher, expressing precisely the perspectives we hope all of our future music teachers will have. I invited James to meet with me, and he opened the conversation by saying, and this is a close paraphrase, "I came here because of the new music education program. After you described it on audition day last fall, I did not even apply anywhere else. I knew this is where I need to be. This program is exactly what I want." I was moved, but I began to quake. Our program is not perfect. I worry about whether we can live up to our promises. In my quaking state, I recall Jacques Derrida's observation about hospitality and replied, "We are so happy you are here and we will do our best to make this a great experience for you." I am proud of our exciting new program, but I don't think we should kid ourselves. It is not as revolutionary as we had hoped. After 9 long years, we moved inches or maybe blocks, but not miles. I try to comfort myself by saying, in times like these and at universities such as mine, even inches and blocks matter. For this young man and for his peers, I hope it will be enough.